Okay. Good morning, everybody. It's Tuesday. Actually, it's not Tuesday. Technically, it is actually Wednesday morning because I fell asleep, and so I've been because my sleep cycle is having a whole thing right now, and so I fell asleep this afternoon and I didn't wake up until like 1 in the morning. So it is actually Wednesday morning. So sorry for being a little bit late. Um, but I'm doing it. I haven't been awake that long, so I hope that this is reasonably coherent, but I guess we will see what happens. I did make notes, but I watched Nella's video before, like in advance of the call that we had, so I made the notes and then I just went back to read them now when I was preparing to make the video, and I was like, I do not know what any of these means. So I had to go back and watch the video again. So I have just rewatched it, so hopefully my notes will make sense to me. We'll see. We'll see how that goes. So happy year 12, everyone. By the way, it's year 12 now. Yikes. So, okay. What is the first thing on my notes? We were talking about like small town living. Um, Nellie, you said it's about 500,000 or 600,000 people. Is that what you said? Um, that's I think about the size of Portland here. So I mean, I don't know if that's like, I don't know why that is a thing that I thought of, but I thought of it. Um, like I said, here where I live, it's about around 1,100 people, or at least that's what it was at the last census. I don't know what it is now. And it used to be smaller than that. It used to be around 800 people, and it's pretty tiny. But I feel like a lot of like the way that small towns are portrayed in the media, like in, you know, books where, you know, the high-powered city woman goes home and starts a cupcake bakery or whatever. I feel like a lot of that stuff is not real. Like, not. Um, First of all, like what they mean by small towns is often not what I mean by small towns at all. And also, like, it's very sort of idealized and not necessarily based in any kind of actual reality. Sometimes you can really tell that the person writing it has never actually, like, lived in a small town. Um, but, and I would say that, like, my experience of living in a small town is possibly different from a lot of other people simply because I am, homebound essentially, and like I've been sick so much for such a long time that like my engagement with other people is like not necessarily the same as other people. Hi, bud. You want to come and sit over here? Eric has come to see everyone. Hi, bud. Oh, thank you for walking all over me with your muddy feet. I appreciate that so much. That's so nice. What a good boy. Hang on. There you go. Oh, thanks. Cats. Um, so yeah, I mean, I think like, I mean, there is a certain amount of engagement with other people that you are kind of stuck with in some ways in a small town that you don't necessarily get in a big city. Again, I have never lived in a big city, so like I am kind of projecting here, I guess, but um, there, I don't know. I wouldn't say that you necessarily like interact with people a lot, but again, like my experience is different because I don't go out really. um, there is a lot of like being related to everyone. Although I would say also that has changed over time. I think like the amount of engagement that people have nowadays, when just kind of in general people have less engagement with their neighbors and with their communities, I think is probably less than it used to be. Like when my mom was a kid, like she tells this story all the time about how she had a relative, or like basically a relative, like, you know, friend of the family that's like auntie whoever or uncle whoever. Like she had a relative on literally every street in town, so she could not get away with anything because no matter where she was in town, like somebody would tell her mom. And like I did not really have that experience. Like, I mean, there are people, I suppose, that like I'm related to, or who know my parents or whatever, and it's true that like I would sometimes like run into people who would be like, oh, you know, and they would recognize me and they would know my parents, and I would have no idea who they were. But not to the extent I think that older generations did, and part of that is due, I think, just generally to the like the difference in the way that people interact as a community and as a group, because I do think it's like a lot more noticeable with older generations, of the town, and I assume that that probably holds true for other communities as well. I've kind of got off on a tangent here. I'm not sure exactly where I was going with this. I probably had some kind of point when I started talking, but no longer. So, okay, next bit. Oh, we were talking about the growth spurt situation. I have so many things to talk about here, like so many aspects of like what you were talking about, Nella. Like there are so many things I want to comment on, which is funny. Like what a weird topic to be so like fertile. So you were talking about how you did all your growing at once and then like not anymore, and it's really funny. I had a cousin who did that. Only like it didn't quite work out the same for her, but like she did all of her growing. Like she really front loaded her growing. She did all of it until she was like 9, like 8 or 9, and she hit like 5'1", a little over 5'1", I think, which I looked it up in preparation for this because I can't do math in my head, which is like about 155 centimeters, which is not, again, like not like super tall, but for like an 8-year-old or a 9-year-old, like that makes you a lot taller than everybody else in your class. And so like she did all of the growing and then she just stopped and she didn't grow anymore after she was like 9. And so now she's short, but when she was a kid, she was like much taller than everybody else in her class, and everybody thought she was going to like keep growing and just be like a giant, and then she just stopped, and that was it. I also stopped growing really early, like, which, I mean, doesn't seem like, I mean, clearly, like, I didn't grow a lot, but like, I was always very short anyway, so like I was always much smaller than everybody else. But then I stopped growing when I was 14, and that was it. So like you were talking about like having clothes and stuff that still fit, I also have that same experience. Like I have clothes from like elementary school that still fit me, that were like a little bit big maybe when I was in elementary school, or like that just fit differently, that still fit me now. Like I have a sweater somewhere that's that I got when I was, God, I don't even know, like, I don't know, 4th grade or something, maybe. I'm not even sure, like, maybe older than that. And it used to be longer on me. But, like, it used to hit me, like, below the hip, like, just below the hip. And, like, now it's much shorter. It's, like, you know, like, the top of my jeans or whatever, but like it still fits. It's still completely wearable. It does not look too small or anything. It looks like it's supposed to fit like that. I have like my feet haven't grown in eons. Like I don't even know. Like I think all of my shoes have disintegrated, but like I definitely could wear the same shoes. Yeah, I have like a strange amount of clothing from like grade school. It's weird. I do, I do have, like, a lot of sympathy for, like, being too tall. Like, the girl that I used to be, like, best friends with, like, all through school, um, she was extremely tall. She was, like, over 6 feet tall. And so I mean, you can imagine, like, the two of us walking around together. It was like, we kind of got a lot of, like, comments because we must have looked very funny walking around together. But, like, yeah, so she was always really tall, and she was somebody that, like, was always really tall. It was not like she had a sudden growth spurt, like she was, normal height and then suddenly grew. Like, she was always very tall. And she continued to grow, like, uh, small amounts up, even, like, through high school, maybe even through her 20s. I mean, she was quite tall. But even, like, in middle school, she was just almost 6 feet tall. So yeah, it's weird how, like, it seems very strange to me that like, there is so much bullying that goes on based on height, because it's such a strange thing to bully someone for, because it has absolutely no impact on anything. Like, it does not have anything to do with anything. It is just, like, such a random thing to pick. But yeah, I mean, I got bullied a lot. For a while. There was a very bad period, particularly in middle school, where I got bullied a lot. I think, not explicitly because of my height. Like, people didn't so much, like, say, like, this is why we are bullying you, because you are small, but it was just because I was very small and very, like, kind of, very harmless and, like, weak looking, and it was really easy to bully me because I was extremely anxious and extremely shy, and, just really tiny. Like, I was just a great target, and so, yeah, there was a period of middle school in particular that was really bad. I don't get it. It's such a weird thing. I don't know. I understand what you were talking about, like, about, like, height being connected with, like, being too much, taking up too much space. And, like, I don't know. I don't have anything really particularly profound to add to that. But yeah, I can see what you're talking about there. Let me think. Okay. Oh, teaching. Teachers are just something. Yeah, you were talking about, like, having teachers who don't explain things to you, and, like, I mean, I guess there's a difference between teachers who don't explain anything to you, like, don't even try, don't make any, like, I think sometimes because they don't realize that they haven't explained something to you, like, they think that you know what they are saying to you, and you're like, why do you keep saying ribs? Like, yeah, I mean, I think that sometimes they don't realize they haven't explained to you, and you don't know what to ask for because you don't understand what they're saying at all. And then I think sometimes, like, I think there are some teachers who just deliberately don't explain to you because they have some kind of idea that you should just know it, like you should be able to pull the knowledge from the ether or something, and, like, and then you have some teachers who want to help you, like, who want to explain to you, but they are not able to explain it to you in a way that you understand. Like, I had a math teacher in high school. I like I said before, like, I never had a really good math teacher until I was in college. I had a math teacher in high school who, she was the main math teacher. She did all of the, like, math classes. But she was actually, like, the PE teacher and the girls' coach, and she just taught math because she had to have something, like everybody, in our schools because it was so small. Like, it had to be, you had to have classes and also a thing, you couldn't just be like the coach. You had to also like teach classes. So she had to teach math. She did have a math degree. Like, she knew what she was doing, but she was terrible at teaching. Like, she was a terrible, terrible teacher. My understanding was that she was fine as a coach and, in sports, which was her thing. But as for like the actual teaching part, she was terrible at it. And I always did fine in her classes because I didn't really need help. Like, I understood how to do things and I would just get on with it myself. But if you needed help with something, if you didn't understand something, if there was a concept you didn't get, it was bad. And I do remember there was one time where like there was some concept that I did not grasp. I don't remember what it was. And like, I tried to ask her a question about it. And this is the exact same thing she did to everybody else, where like, I tried to ask her a question and she went, well, go read the textbook. And I was like, well, I read the textbook. And when I say I read the textbook, I mean, there was literally like 3 sentences at the beginning of the chapter and then, just pages of problems. Like, that was it. There was no explanation. That was the whole thing. And I was like, well, I read it. And she was like, well, go read it again. And I was like, I have read it. Like, I've read it. I've read it so many times. Like, I don't understand this one, whatever. And like, outright refused to even try to explain it. She just was like, go read the textbook, go sit down. Go sit down. I'm not doing this. And that's something. I mean, normally normally teachers at least kind of attempt to explain, or like they at least attempt to look like they're explaining to you, but like, she didn't even try, which is really something. I have had lots of other teachers who like tried to explain but were not good at it. I had one teacher when I was in college who was absolutely amazing at finding alternate ways to explain things. I've never had another teacher that was as good at it as he was. And like, it didn't matter what it was. He would, if you did not understand something the way that he explained it the first time, he would think for a second and then he would like come at it from a completely different angle. And if you didn't understand that one, he would think for a minute and then he would come at it from some other angle until you got it. And like, it was incredible. I remember like watching him and just thinking like, how do you do that? Like, that is a skill that teachers need, but not a lot of teachers actually have. And I remember being very awed by his ability to just constantly find a new way to explain something. And people always came out of his classes really understanding things, which I was very impressed by. I don't know if it's good to be so impressed by something that should be like a core skill for teachers, but like, it isn't. A lot of teachers don't have that. So, the only other thing that I have on my list is that Mickey looks very handsome, and he looks like really, like, he looks much happier than he did in like the first like video or two where you showed him. He looks much more like settled in, like he seems more comfortable and stuff. So that's good. I hope he's doing well. I hope he's like settling in and feeling happier with the whole situation. So I have been talking for quite some time now. It's like 19 minutes in. So, yeah. So I'm sorry for being a little bit late today with my upload. I don't have a good excuse for it. I just passed out early. I fell asleep and then I woke up and it was Wednesday. So, yeah. So happy year 12, everybody. I love you all a bunch. And I will see you next week, so don't forget to be awesome.